order. It's 10:01. Are you going to do an announcement about broadcasting now? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just a few announcements. Just the general housekeeping, just a reminder, and for those of you who might be new, reminder that this is a live broadcast over the web, and so everything we're saying is being recorded and broadcast, so we'll try to be on our best behavior. Again, make sure that when you're speaking that you press the button on your microphone so that the red light is shining. We can hear you fine in the room, but if you don't have that microphone on, then the broadcast won't be able to hear you. We do have Wi-Fi, which is Education Go Get It. It doesn't require a password. Restrooms are midway down the hall. There's a sign on the ceiling pointing to them. We have vending machines at the front of the building, just behind the security desk where you came in. There's a room with a kiosk that has chips and drinks there. I think that's all. We want to start by going around. Generally, start with an introduction, just your name and college. Oh, and one last thing to remind you is that whatever college you're at, just a reminder that this is a statewide advisory committee, and so everything we're doing today is for the benefit of the state. So go ahead and start on my left here.
Good morning, Cindy Griffith. I serve as the Vice President for Instruction with Alvin Community College.
Cindy Kasparis. I'm the Vice President of Academic Affairs at Angelina College.
Robin Garrett, the Deputy Chancellor of Academic and Student Success at Central Texas College.
Dwayne Shaw, I'm the Dean of Public Services and Industrial Technologies for Kilgore College.
And what I didn't mention before, I'm Dwayne Hiller, a Program Director here at the Coordinating Board and the Academic Quality and Workforce Division.
Joyce Williams, Associate Vice Chancellor, Workforce and Community Initiatives, Dallas County Community College District.
Olga Valerio, El Paso Community College, Dean Advanced Technology Center.
James Chigwin, Tarrant County College, Associate Professor, Computer Science and Department Chair.
Leslie Keeling Olson, I'm the Director of Perkins Grants and Criminal Justice Faculty at Temple College.
Good morning, Phil Nicotera, Houston Community College, President of Coleman College.
Rob Blair, Dean of Technical Education, South Plains College.
Good morning, Jennifer Myers. I serve as the Dean over Business and Industry Programs at Odessa College.
Good morning, I'm Mindy Nobles. I'm an Assistant Director here at the Coordinating Board in Academic Quality and Workforce. I'd like to introduce Stephanie Perkins, who has just come to work for us in the last month or so. I will say candidly that we stole her from Temple College. Sorry about that, guys. Stephanie is managing Perkins Grants and will be assisting as staff in all things workforce. So please give welcome to Stephanie Perkins. Sherry Rannis on the staff will probably be down later too. So many of you know Sherry. Okay.
Good morning. I'm Vernon Hawkins, Associate Vice President for Workforce and Continuing Education at Brookhaven College, and I'm the immediate past president for TACE.
Thank you, colleagues. And for those of you who are joining us online, thank you as well. We will begin with the minutes from our last session.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Oh, Mary.
Morning.
Thank you.
I was just about to.
He was just finna tell me who's online. Yes, Mary,
This
please.
is Mary Adams at Texas State Technical College. Also, I wanted to mention I'm connected to the live stream, but I don't see any of the video.
Okay, you don't see, you can't see us?
No, it's just the background screen says waiting for THECB.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else online? Okay. All right, we will continue with the approval of the minutes from our July 11th meeting. Should have gotten those. You also have those in your packet. I'm asking for a motion for approval, please.
Motion to approve?
Been,
I second.
has been moved and seconded that the minutes be approved as read. Asking for a vote of aye for those who are approving the motion.
Aye.
Nay for anyone who has any objection of approval of the minutes. Okay, minutes are approved as read. Following the agenda that's in front of you, do we have any public testimony or public comments at this time?
Seen none.
Okay. Seeing none, then we'll move on to agenda item number 4, Coordinating Board updates regarding programs of study and zip code conversion.
Before we start that one, if I could respond to Mary and anyone else who may be watching remotely via phone or computer, if you would refresh your screen, you should be able to see the proceedings. If you logged in while we were still waiting, you may still have that old image. I am told by the technical wizards in the control room.
Mary, would you let us know when you can see us? Did you hear?
I did. I refreshed, and no, I still can't see you. I'm going to close the browser and reopen another one, and I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 4, Coordinating Board update regarding programs of study and zip code conversion. And thank you, Dr. Reynes, for joining us.
No video.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Okay, and I guess we'll start with the good news. Yes,
There's no bad news. There is no bad news.
there's, well, the great news. So, Information Technology Program of Study Advisory Committee met yesterday, and as we were asking them if they wanted to appoint subcommittees, they kind of had the attitude of, well, why do we need subcommittees? We can do it all ourselves. So we presented the Cloud Computing Program of Study outline that was recommended by the workshop we had last June. And after discussing it for a while and looking at it, they said, sure. So the Cloud Computing Program of Study curricula were approved by the Information Technology Program of Study Advisory Committee, and those will go to the Coordinating Board in the December-January cycle, and will hopefully, I mean, they'll go out for public comment first, and then they'll go to the Coordinating Board for approval in January. So that was the first little bit of news.
Wait, you got to have us a moment of celebration here.
Yes.
It's just hats off to this team, this advisory committee. Hats off to you. Hats off to James, Robin, Cindy, Cynthia for leading those workshops and facilitating those workshops. Hats off to every one of you leaders around the state that did exactly what Dwayne said. You took off your college hat and you put on your state hat, and you helped to be able to show that we needed to meet the needs of the businesses within our communities, because our communities and the way we do business is changing, whether it's in small rural areas, whether it's in big metropolitan areas. Cloud is where we're going and where we are. And our students need to be able to do that no matter what zip code they live in. They need to be able to do that. And we have stood fast to the mission of community colleges, and for the purpose of this committee and the leadership that is around this committee. I thank you. I thank you, coordinating board staff, for all that you did, but I also thank the faculty in which all of you represent and push through. Mary, hats off to you at TSTC that helped lead the way with all of your faculty there that have also been pushing this a year ahead of all of us. So I just thank you so much, Dwayne. That was great news.
Okay, and also, well, I was also going to extend a thanks to Robin Garrett, who stepped in at the last minute as we were getting the advisory committee convened, and I remember we needed somebody from the Wecm to serve on that committee, and I was frantically calling people, and Robin graciously agreed to serve on that subcommittee, and I think she was also really helpful in getting that, helping them to understand the process we went through to get that cloud computing curriculum developed, and I think she was really helpful in getting that pushed through. So
That's the
thanks
leadership
for
we
her.
got.
Thank you, Dwayne. I want to thank this committee, though. I think one of the pivotal points yesterday in that meeting was the fact that this committee had already approved the 4 new courses and the cloudifying of the existing courses. Once they saw that we had done that, it eased their mind on some of the way the courses were aligned in the curriculum. So that move by this committee was very important to the success of yesterday.
Now that was great news. Thank you.
Okay.
Could I ask for some acknowledgement of Sherry Rannis, who worked with Joyce to put the June workshop together where participants hammered out the 5 curricula that were approved yesterday. So I'd just like to give Sherry Rannis acknowledgement and thanks for that.
Oh, you know what? That was coming later, but they're hands down, not only acknowledging her, but the organization that she put together for the last workshop, and being able to do the cloud mapping of the curriculum and helping Dwayne with the data and putting the analysis together. We could not have done it without Sherry.
And also like to say thanks to Sherry, because I was really neck deep in work at that time, and without her help, I'm not sure we would have gotten it done, but I really appreciate her stepping up and helping with that. Okay. I guess moving on, the other update we wanted to mention was the SIP code conversion, the SIP 2020. I have a couple of, actually they're at the end of the at the bottom of the packet I sent out, there's a handout showing a list of SIP code changes and new SIP codes that were written. This is just kind of an information at this point. At some time, and I think we might even have to write some kind of protocol, although this only happens once every 10 years. Whenever we have this kind of change, we need to look through the Wecm to see if there are any courses that fall under any of these SIP codes that have changed, or especially any of the new SIP codes that until now we had just put them in the closest SIP code we could find. But now it has, in many cases, there are new SIP codes that we can use for more specific topics.
A question on that, Dwayne. Will this have any impact on funding?
In most of the changes I've seen, it's moving from one 6-digit SIP in the same 2-digit SIP code to another 6-digit SIP in the same 2-digit SIP code. And most of the funding is at the 2-digit SIP level. So in most cases, there will be no impact on level of funding.
Any other questions by any other members on the committee that maybe you can think of now? I'm sure you have some later, but in going through looking at those, the major concern was to make sure that there was do no harm to funding, existing funding. Now, of course, we would love for increase of funding.
Of course, that's a much higher level of approval than I can give. That's all I have, unless you have any questions. If anybody has any questions about coordinating board.
Dwayne, I do. This is Mary. On the SIP codes, is this going to be, I don't know the process for updating them. Is this something that we're going to need to act on individually, or is it KHECB that will be updating them?
So as far as the program inventory goes, a coordinating board will be looking at especially the zip codes that are being deleted or moved, and we will make those changes internally. From my experience from the previous change, is that if a new zip code was written, it really comes down to whether the college wants to use that new zip code or continue using the existing zip code. In many cases, their student management service program is difficult to make changes to. And there's also the danger of losing historical data if you change the zip code. So we really leave it up to the institution to decide whether to change to the new zip code or leave it where it is for those reasons. As far as the Wecm courses, especially if and again, looking at the table, I didn't print out the table of deleted because there are actually only 3 zip codes aside from ZIP 60, and ZIP 60 is like the medical internship or medical residency programs. So I took all of those off of these lists. But of all of the programs that were being deleted, there were only 3 listed, and none of them are zip codes we use in the Wecm or on the program inventory. But as far as changing the Wecm courses, that's something we would either need to do as an advisory committee or create a subcommittee to look into those and, again, see what changes need to be made in the Wecm inventory.
Thank you.
So before, as we move forward, what is the wish of this committee? Would we like to look at it as a committee as a whole, or form a subcommittee to look at whether or not we would make those changes, those zip code changes for the courses that are listed in the Wecm? What is your wish? Any recommendations? Okay. So, hearing no recommendations of whether or not we would form a subcommittee, then I would probably say then, Dwayne, what we would probably do then is look at these as a whole committee to convert these to the new SIPs, or to look at to see if there's any impact on current and existing SIPs. Like you, Dwayne, I went through the initial SIP conversion change 10 years ago in developing a crosswalk so colleges could see what changes went from here to there and what changed. And I'm excited about the fact that we can now be more specific with our SIP codes and our courses, which will help us align better when we're looking at SOC codes for grants and opportunities that way, to be able to align those. It's an automatic change on degree plans and all of those things through the coordinating board efforts in which they've done. You guys have done a great job of being able to put this together, and so we'll see as we go forward.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Question on line 18 on these zip code changes. When
James,
it
is
means,
your mic on?
yeah, I think it's on, yeah.
Okay.
It says other. Does other mean, doesn't fall in any other categories? Is that what
Yeah.
other means?
In other, in most cases, if a zip code ends in 99,
See, on line 18, it says other for
Right.
SIP title, so I
and I
just
think
was
it's
curious.
because the alignment is down, but the line above that is veterinary animal health technologies technicians,
Oh, okay,
comma,
so that's from
other.
17, okay.
So that, it's just not lined up right.
Okay.
But yeah, any zip code that ends in 99 is basically the 4-digit zip code with the word other added to it. And just as a word of, we don't use zip codes ending in 99 on our course or program inventories.
Okay.
So if anything, we will put it under the most general zip code rather than the other zip code.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for asking. And I just wanted to throw out, again, we don't work in a vacuum, and I also want to acknowledge Sherry Reynes in at least prodding me along to recognizing that the zip codes were changing and her help in getting this done. And I probably would still be in a fog if she hadn't kind of nudged me in that direction.
Okay. With that, since we are on coordinating board updates, I am sure that my colleagues around this dais, as well as colleagues around the state, would think that we would be remiss as a leadership committee of leaders around the state for community colleges if we did not acknowledge the loss of one of our great supporters of community colleges that have been with the state of Texas for a long time. And that's Dr. Rex Peoples. And we have lost a great advocate and a dear friend. And having the opportunity to work with Rex for a number of years, I know the impact that he has had on the state, not only for community colleges, but also for universities. I also know his commitment to workforce education, career and technical education, dual credit, to a number of things that would change student lives. And I'm sure that I join my colleagues around this dais that we will miss him sincerely and know how honored we were to know him and to serve with him and to serve beside him on championing those things with the state legislators, with all other government officials, and also university partners when it came to career and technical education. So to the coordinating board family and to Rex's family, we want to say thank you for all the services that you all stood beside him and helped him lead. But from my heart, I want to say thank you for allowing us to be able to have this moment to express those condolences. So anyone else, of course, you're welcome to make comments, public comments.
Yeah, thanks, Joyce. And the staff, we're still kind of in shock over the events and what happens, where we go from here. And I think our guiding principle either is or should be, what would Rex do whenever we're faced with any kind of decisions? So we really, lost a great mentor, but he's led us through the years. And and we're just really grateful for the time we had with him and the contributions he has made.
Okay. I also want to mention that the AWS Educate had, along with Secretary Ruth Hughes on this past Wednesday, made a statewide announcement in Dallas about the initiative and the partnership of 22 colleges, community colleges in Texas, about cloud computing. And I was excited to hear the Vice President of Global Initiatives for AWS Educate, Ken Eisner. In his speech, he recognized Rex and his role in cloud computing and the support that the coordinating board had given. But also in his speech, he publicly named his team, Mindy Nobles, Sherry Reynes, and Dwayne Hiller. And I was so proud that he did that by name to everyone that was in that room. And even more so, I saw the smile and the chest of Dr. Paredes, Commissioner for Higher Education Coordinating Board, chest just poke out when he said and called those names. And afterwards, the commissioner came up to me and thanked me for recognizing Rex, because I had the opportunity to thank AWS Educate for that recognition, and quote Rex by saying he would have just said, "This makes sense. This makes sense." And so I just want to say that as you said, your What Would Rex Do has not gone unnoticed. And again, your commissioner was there to hear the names called and all the work that you all have done on getting a statewide purpose of what community colleges are to represent with business partners done. And so I just wanted to say thank you, but I wanted to also let you know that on your commissioner's almost final day, but as he said, his last official act, that he had an opportunity to hear what his team has done and have a statewide impact. And he made that very publicly known. So moving on from.
Before we
Go ahead.
move on,
Sorry.
let us not leave this moment without acknowledging Dr. Joyce Williams' initiative in moving forward the entire cloud computing curriculum development process. You got the right people in touch, Joyce. You shepherded this initiative through the state's higher education bureaucracy, as it were, to bring this to fruition. You know, it takes this sort of initiative from people in the field on behalf of the students and on behalf of the mission to get the work done sometimes. And here the work got done. The outcome's going to benefit innumerable students in this state, and everybody but Joyce has gotten acknowledgement. I want her to receive full credit and thanks. So thank you, Joyce.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and yeah, thank you. Moving on to number 5.
Actually, I was, sorry. I was going to do one more kind of update. Part of our, at the coordinating board, one of our, I guess, renewed missions, you might say, is to be more, to have more communications with the field. And I have an example of email or a letter through Gov Delivery that was sent out a couple of weeks ago for workforce education course manual course reviews. This is similar to the letter that generally goes out in the spring, prompting or hoping to prompt colleges to submit Wecm comments for the advisory committee to review. Our plan is to send these out more frequently during the year, at least quarterly, and to also have an email reminder from me on behalf of this committee to remind faculty and staff and administrators at the colleges that Wecm comments can be sent in at any time, and how we rely on those to determine which courses need to be renewed, changed, added. So this is the communication that went out a couple of weeks ago for that purpose.
Well, I think that's exciting because we do need to have the field to send in more triggers for welcome changes that will be able to get to this committee, because we've had concerns that we have not been getting enough. Yet we know that there are people out there that don't know what to do, how to get that information, that are still, believe it or not, after 3 years, are still saying, when is the workshop? When is the workshop? And so being able to have this go out more frequently gives them an opportunity to remember that they have a voice, and it is their voice in this process that actually changes the courses in the Wecm. Not someone who's sitting behind a desk that says this thing should change. It is their voice that triggers these changes and that they hear from businesses. Yes, Rob?
As a matter of fact, yesterday, one of the members of the Program of Study Committee was reiterating the urgency for the upcoming Cisco changes. And I recommended to him to submit a Wecm comment, and he immediately did. So that's one of the things that as we go through the rest of our agenda and we talk about some of the triggers and workshops, we need to take that into consideration and figure out a way to review those comments regularly.
I agree.
Thank you, Robin. That's what I just mentioned to Dwayne. I knew that was coming. Thanks.
Our plan is to send out a quarterly reminder to submit comments about a month before each Wecm meeting. So we'll continue to get this message out as we move forward.
Okay. Now, can I go to number 5?
Seeing no objections.
So we'll have professional organization updates. TASTE, TACTI, and TACRO at this point. We have Vernon that's representing TASTE. And I know we don't have the TACTI representative, but we have the next best thing, which is the current sitting president of the association. So she can also give us an update if she would. So why don't we start with you, Mr. Hawkins?
I don't want to sound repetitive, but my part of my update is the same thing I said with a few last time about the spring conference. It's what TASTE, one of the big things that we, probably 50% to 70% of what we do is development of our staffs around the state. And so the conference is a big, major emphasis for us. So this year, as a matter of fact, it's the 40th anniversary of TASTE. And so this is a big celebration we're going to have in April. The theme is 40 years of continuing excellence, 40 years of continuing excellence. It'll be at the Austin Omni South Park. This year, for those who have come and have sent people from your institutions, we've for a number of years, we've been, the conference has been Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This year, we're going back to the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday schedule. So I believe the last time we met, I gave the dates as 14 through 16, but it's actually 15 through 17th of April, April 15th through 17th. And I think the interesting thing about the conference this year is we've been talking about major themes, and we're in a few days, we'll be opening up for constituents to send in breakout session ideas. But interesting, what people have called in already and asked that they want to do, it seems that this year may be a lot more of TASTE, and the breakout sessions will be more, I think, for lack of a better term, a social bent. Things that are coming in are, in fact, one of the speakers that we have who, if schedule permitting, is going to talk about community college as a catalyst to affect poverty in a community, and dealing with homeless and the lack of jobs and economic development. How continuing education or non-credit programs can work across the state in order to alleviate these particular areas. And I think that's something, I don't say new, but definitely to have that as a major theme is a little bit different for us. Of course, again, we have a number of people that want to do presentations, and we welcome them on fostering leadership for those staff who want to go into the non-credit area, the continuing education and workforce development area. Of course, always we're looking for best practices in ABE, and I think some of the major theme that we're seeing coming across from some of the comments are non-credit to credit pathways and articulation agreements. So I think this is going to be a very, very interesting conference with a number of interesting breakout sessions. We'll continue to be working on that, and as this, I think that the major schedule will be done in the next month or so for the April conference. So we're a little ahead of schedule. I'm glad this year. So that's the first one. Number two is kind of an update. Is that we're working on the local need and special topic course review. and we've committed, it's almost like herding cats sometimes. We have committed to a November 1st deadline to get those done and back to this committee. So I just wanted to let you know we haven't forgotten you. I think that I still have some work to do with Dwayne on that issue, but we have committed the group, and this is the Board of TASE, that we would review all local needs and special topics by November 1. So we have that commitment. One of the things, and everyone mentioned Rex, but I still remember one of the last times I talked to him, and one of the things was at the conference last year, and he and I and Jacob Fair from TACT had a conversation, and Jacob was saying he wanted better data about training that was leading to jobs, and we can get it from the credit side, but it's really kind of hard to get it from the non-credit side, and how are institutions doing that? And I remember Rex, of course, turned to Dwayne and said, well, we can pull that, we can get that. So, and I had that on my list. It's funny how things work, that the group at our last meeting 3 weeks ago said, we need to start getting back on that topic. And, and so I had that on my list to kind of reach out and ask, what can we do? And then all of a sudden we got news this week. But that is, the third thing I wanted to mention is the fact that we are working on best practice, I guess I'd say. How do we collect the data from around the state on those certificate programs that may not be credit-based? Because I don't think that any of us are doing a really, really good job about doing that from our institutional perspective. So that is something that the Board of TASE is really going to try to get a handle on this year and work on as one of the major emphasis.
Okay.
And I think that's all I have on that for now.
Thank you. Ms. Hawkins? Leslie?
PACT is in the middle of a website redesign, and with that website redesign, we also are adding some additional resources to help both this committee and then Perkins people. So within it will be a Perkins tab with a Wecm reference link too. So ultimately the question becomes, what can we post for you? Do you want, I know some of it gets posted, but then some of it has a more arduous process for the coordinating board than what we have. And so as we're developing that, we will be coming to you saying, do you want these minutes? Do you want this agenda posted and things like that? We hope that it's going to be done within the next 3 to 6 weeks. We'll also have all of our past information, past conference information, past resources, past volumes of Perkins updates, so that as things are shifting to a new generation that's coming in, they can go back and find some of that archived data to look at and see how things have transpired and things have processed it. So that also includes, as we're doing the website redesign, it also includes some information some information for y'all to hopefully consider and give back to us on how can we help when it comes to our conference and Wecm. After our last meeting, there was a couple conversations that maybe we needed to do a Wecm 101 because a large portion of the CTE faculty had lost that knowledge base or were new, especially new department chairs. There'd also been discussion of possibly maybe we needed to host identify which one needed a workshop and host a workshop in the middle of the conference, because that would drive faculty members to the conference, but also help and alleviate, what might be a burden of a workshop on this committee. So we are still open to that conversation. We're still open to that discussion. I'm going to point out Dwayne here. Dwayne is one of the conference co-chairs this year, and so we have different sections open within our conference planning to basically wait and see and what's going to be best and what will be the need as we get closer to doing a final agenda. Our conference is the first week of April.
Well, I'm excited about that opportunity to be able to have a space that we can actually host a Wecm workshop, especially for some of the things that I know that's going to come from Olga and Rob and Robin later on as we discuss the need to be able to have some of these triggers answered immediately, like the Cisco one, and to be able to have that opportunity to do that. and have the space, whereas then not on the coordinating board or burden on the coordinating board for space. Notice I just said only for space. But I'm excited about opportunities to have that. And I will tell you that we will probably be a little bit cautious about posting the coordinating board minutes on a different website other than the coordinating board, but surely announcements like Wecm Workshop is coming, put in your minutes on the Wecm, your comments on the Wecm comments and different announcements like that may be coming, that surely people will then be familiar more with the TACTI website and can go there and find those same announcements that may only be going to the CTC liaisons, but now could be open to everyone. So that's definitely a great, thank you, TACTI, for wanting to be able to do that. Any comments from coordinating board staff on taking them up on the Wecm workshop?
Thanks. Also, I guess want to maybe suggest it might also be good to have some kind of forum where staff, faculty, and administrators from community colleges can ask questions. Currently, we have the Wecm comments, and it's kind of a structured, what specific course changes do you see coming up? But we don't really have any kind of forum where they can ask, how do I find a certain course, or how do I, basically like your Wecm 101, how do I use the Wecm? But it might even be more generic or more specific questions. So maybe some kind of forum and maybe a FAQ page that would kind of help, if you have a question, just go to this page, someone has asked it before, and here's the answer. So I can see a really useful other uses for this page also.
And you can put your presentation up on their page.
Right, and right when she said Wecm 101, I said, yeah, we have 2 presentations. When they upgraded our website, we lost one of them, or we lost the link to one of them. So things like this might be useful to have on another site also, to kind of as a backup or as a alternate.
101 and 102.
What's 201?
201.
Yeah. It's, I don't know what the numbering is,
but it's 2 presentations.
Yeah.
All right.
We were potentially looking at the conference as maybe even a secondary pre-conference for not just Wecm 101, but the information that came out on that sheet, on that handout that you were just looking at earlier. Because yes, we have new people who have little or no information about how to deal with it, but we also have those folks that are still calling you asking, when is the next workshop going to be, that we could update with this. So we really did think at the TACTI board really thought it would be extremely helpful to a lot of administrators across the state for even, so it's going to go, I think, a little further than just a 101. A 101 is necessary, but we also need to do just a general update for a lot of folks.
I agree. Okay.
I'm sorry, while we're in between, just had one more housekeeping that I forgot to mention earlier. So if you have the envelope with your lunch money, could you go ahead and pass that down to the, I guess, at the far end of the table, and Valerie will come pick those up, I guess. Yeah, toward that end, yeah. No, just to the end of the. So I know. Oh, and as she said, or if anyone asks, if you need change, just write the amount you put in the envelope and she'll bring change back to you. Okay, thanks.
All right. Item number 6 on our agenda, report from special topics and local need course review subcommittees. We got several committees that are kind of working in conjunction on some of this. If you read your minutes, we got several people volunteered to be part of some subcommittees. Vernon has already given us an update on the CE. So we have Rob, who was working on some other things on special topics in this summer. Robin, of course, is basically leading the whole Wecm protocol manual, which then kind of involves special topics and reviewing of local needs. So we're trying to make sure that there's a balance. Then you have Olga, who volunteered to also look at special topics, local need. You got Cindy Griffith that also looked at course revisions and archival subcommittee. So I'm just going to ask all of you all to participate in this dialogue, and we'll just allow either Rob or Robin to kind of kick it off.
And if I may, I know you didn't say I could, but
So Dwayne is just inserting the coordinating board thing. Please go ahead, Dwayne.
I just wanted to.
I was going to defer to him anyway.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, and what Vernon was too polite to say is, I've finally gotten around to sending out these lists of courses, and this afternoon I'll send the actual courses to Olga and Vernon on the. These are the 2017, 2018 courses. And again, this is just a list of the courses. You'll get the actual courses later this afternoon. And the idea is that as you review these courses and look at the descriptions, the question is, are there currently Wecm courses that they could use instead? Do the current Wecm courses, maybe they have a different contact hour range that doesn't allow, if we expanded the contact hour range, maybe they could use that course instead of writing a local need course. Other, questions will be, is it a valid workforce course? If not, we need to let the college know that they need to either emphasize the workforce nature of the course or not report it for funding. So this is kind of the worksheet that they'll be working on. The other option, if you see several courses that might be at the same topic from different colleges, then that might be a trigger for either course review or to add new courses. Or I think the committee before has gone ahead and just combined all of those local need courses into one course and added it to the Wecm, again with the advisory committee's approval.
Dwayne, just as a perusal through some of these, I see that there's a lot of, several, I wouldn't say a lot, because these are hundreds, so I won't say a lot. But there are several courses being submitted as 2 credit hour courses that currently already exist in the Wecm as 3 and 4 credit hour. And I know at one point in time, historically, and I'm only talking historically, we had gone through and had the field come in and look at those 2 credit hour courses, and most of the 2 credit hour courses were deleted from the Wecm. I do see a number of courses that have been submitted, especially as local need courses, that currently already exist as 3 credit hours. And so it feels like they're wanting to just use a 2 credit hour version of an existing 3 credit hour version. I'm not sure how that's triggered, whether when they give those comments, is it because of industry saying, hey, we now are industry standards or accreditation changes that have now reduced those hours, or did the college just has a preference of teaching a 2 hour because the 3 hour doesn't work for them, but other people in the state are teaching the 3 hour. So I want to know, Robin and Dwayne and I say that because I don't know if is there a protocol, you guys know the protocol off the top of your head, and whether there was a protocol written to address that and how we would address that as new people around are reading this, and also an opportunity for those who are listening to us who may have submitted local needs for 2 credit hours when a 3 credit hour already exists.
And normally,
I know you're looking at me. Historically, and I'm thumbing back through our new protocols right now as I speak, but historically, we have only allowed a 1-2, 2-3, or 3-4, never allowing to have a 2, 3, and 4 in the as an option. And let me see if, like I said, I'm fumbling through to see if we took that out of the current protocols or not. Let me keep looking. Y'all talk.
and one thing we have done in the past is, in those cases, we will look at the 4-hour course. And again, with the reduction to 60 semester credit hours for AES degrees, a lot of colleges then, instead of using the 4-hour, they will use a 3-hour course. So we look at the frequency data to see, is the 4-hour course still being used? And if not, then we can archive the 4-hour version and then create the 2-hour version. So it'll be a 2-3 instead of a 3-4.
Okay.
So that's one option.
I just wanted to make sure that that was clear as you all start to look at the list of special topics and local needs and why they were submitting those courses, so that it's not just based on faculty preference of a course, that they want to teach it as a 2-hour, that it is truly based on either, 60 hours, or the content has now been limited, or requirement based on accreditation, or some sort of that has a real significant meaning.
Yeah, and just another little additional on that. On the actual course form where it has a description, there's also a section for justification, and that's where the college would include that information, whether it's the advisory committee recommended it, or if it's a new industry standard, or if it's a licensing or certification requirement. So those will be on the actual course printouts when you get those.
Yeah, I found the protocol. In an effort to maintain instructional integrity, semester credit hour ranges are limited to 2 consecutive credit hours. Example, 1-2, 2-3, 3-4, or 4-5. However, it is acceptable to have only one option. Example, only a 3 semester credit hour option. Semester credit hour courses are assigned contact hour ranges based on the ratios found in the GIPWE document titled Lecture Lab Credit Hour Combinations. So I agree with Dwayne. We need to look at those to see if there's a way to eliminate the 4. But if there isn't, if we still have a lot of colleges teaching a 2, a 3, and a 4, that opens us up for quite a different course as far as contact hour ranges. So that's something that this group would have to consider, how we handle those. Okay. But even the fact that they're submitting it as a special topic or a local need with a 2, if there's a 3-4 already in the Wecm, is it still the same course? That's a question that we need to think about.
I just wanted to bring it up as I kind of perused through this. I saw several of those being submitted. Several. Okay. All right. Yep. Okay.
And I guess just another note, when you look at the total of,
Especially.
I'm sorry, as another note, when you look at the total, comes to 436, but you might see throughout, some of these were submitted more than once during the year, and there will be duplicate copies. So in some cases, you'll be able to combine groups of similar courses or the same course submitted by the same institution. So it might reduce the number, it should reduce the number considerably.
Just things like that. Okay. So, Robin, you all want to kind of just, I guess.
And
Sure, I'll start it off. Okay, so I'm going to reference this blue sheet that everyone should have. And if there's some extra copies, or I have some copies here if someone didn't get this sheet. Okay, so Wickham comments. So the spreadsheet, as we went through the Wickham comments subcommittee, as the spreadsheet was turned in July, is provided in July, and there were some questions about, from July meeting, is how do Wickham comments trigger a Wickham workshop, course additions, revisions, archival, that sort of thing. So I'm going to go through very briefly what the results were from the Wickham comments spreadsheet that was submitted in July. There were 48 comments were noted with 12 action recommendations. That's how I termed them, action, something to do with, So those first 3 bullets are recommendations of a Wickham workshop. There were 7 that the subcommittee came up with. New course is recommended. There were 3, and the other was some information that the coordinating board, Dwayne needed to provide to a college because they had some questions while some courses were archived. And then and the creation of the HITT 2330 and 2340 course, which in my mind was a pilot. You tell me if in history if there was something like that, but we initiated a pilot of developing a new course that I'll go over in just a moment. So those remaining 36 consisted of those following bullets. That's how they were categorized, and a recommendation of local needs, special topics, and just further review, and then additional information, accreditation standard notices that 2 of them that were provided. Does not meet Wickham course guidelines. No action required. Recommendation of SIP rubric that looks like it's going to be handled through the new SIP 2020, and continuation of above comment that was part of another submission. So the rest of this, following the second half of that page, is just my perspective as I went through this process, and just some ideas that I'm throwing out there, some suggestions, something to consider. So as I developed this process, thought about this process, then I started with a spreadsheet, and then of course I went to South Plains College IS to try to figure out, if there's a better way to do that. I was probably further along in the process to change. So I kept with the spreadsheet, and I categorized those spreadsheets, formulated some drop-down boxes, sent them out to the subcommittee. We reviewed them individually, put some notes in it, sent it back to compile that evidence, compile those results, and that's that top paragraph that I just talked about. But as I went through this process, I began to realize, and to my knowledge, there was only one thing that happened with all that information at this point in time. Well, the cloud, there was one comment about cloud computing, but outside of that, the course creation of the HITT course, that's what I know at this point in time, to my knowledge, that anything came of all of these comments. So as I thought about this process, I thought, well, this Wecm comment template, and this from Dr. Peebles threw a wrench into my presentation today, but things can always be improved. So this was just ideas. So as I thought about this Wecm comment template and results spreadsheet, I thought, well, could that be revised and used as an instrument to distribute Wecm comments to various subcommittees through recommendations through Wecm comment recommendations to the appropriate subcommittees that were, again, developed, that are in the Wecm protocol manual that were developed with co-chairs last July. So I thought, well, could that be the instrument that distributes all these different types of comments or recommendations from the comments to the right parties, instead of just being in one solid list for everyone to look at. So that's been my thought. So I went back and I took these comments that we originally started with, the regular comments that we originally started with, and I recategorized those to those bullets that are following under this second. So I said that if process applied to previous 48 Wecm comments, the estimated results would have been the following. And so I'm looking at those first 5 bullets, and the first 4 are the subcommittees that were developed last July. And then the 5th one is a recommendation of Wecm workshops that would come to directly to this committee, is what I'm thinking. This could always all be revised, just an idea, just a suggestion. So there was, out of the 48, that's how many recommendations. It would have gone from 10 recommendations from that further review to 18 to the course revision or archive subcommittee, 7 to credit special topics, 4 to non-credit, none to the professional development, which those last 2 are under one co-chair, and then 7 of the Wecm workshop recommendations. And then those last 3 bullets would have been one course recommendation, which was processed, and no action required, which I will combine some of those, which would have been 6, and then additional information needed from submitter. They just didn't provide enough information to do anything with. It was just, I don't want to use the term vent, but it was just talk, not thorough, not concise, not clear, just talk. Okay, so I do have a question to consider based on that process, so electronic process or manual. So I got to thinking, well, could this Wecm comment, could it be automated to route comments to appropriate subcommittees? And maybe this is a future question. Could it be, and Wayne's the guru of all those systems, but could it be revised to where, as a person filled out these comments and they chose the appropriate boxes, then it would automatically go to these different committees instead of a Wecm comment subcommittee evaluating them and distributing them out? That's my question, just a thought. On that back page, and I'm going to go back to the new course recommendation on that back page is that HITT 2330 course that was created. And in this scenario, the number of participating colleges included were 12. So originally it was 6, but the final report I got, that 12 colleges, this creation of this course, from a local needs course to a Wecm course, was going to affect 12 colleges. Well, that's pretty substantial in my mind. So the question is, in my mind, is what is the participating college number in order to trigger a new course? How many colleges does a recommendation of a new course need to affect before it's taken seriously? So the new course recommendation process, as Joyce and I and Dwayne, when this course came up, so I just kind of bulleted 1 through 6. There are 3 terms to be revised as needed, and you see that process. And to my knowledge, Wayne, that's how that course happened, to my knowledge. Okay, so I was just as I was thinking through those processes when we came up with this pilot, and I'm calling it a pilot because I don't know if it existed before. So there's the six criteria or 6 criteria that process followed. Okay, so that's where it stands as now, to be revised as needed, however, if the pilot is to continue. But I thought it was pretty good. Joyce initiated that, but I thought it was pretty good, and it certainly affected enough colleges to carry through with. So at least something happened with that out of all of this. There was a good action item and something happened with it. All right, so I'm going to move on to these. The other question was Wecm workshop triggers. So those previous 7 recommendations out of the 48 that comments that we talked about, then they're listed there, and that was the 7 previous recommendations. So as results to trigger, the triggers and questions is again not number of colleges affected to trigger a workshop. And the reason that I say that is on it's the horology. Where is that at? That's number 3. So that number 3, jewelry to jewelry arts, outdated SIP, horology, proposed college teaching all local needs courses. So the person that submitted this, I think it was from Alvin Community College, ACC, either Alvin or Austin, I guess, one of the two. I think it's Alvin.
I think Austin has the jewelry.
Was it Austin? Okay. All right. So Austin Community College and I think Paris Junior College. The person from ACC that submitted this talked about there's only 2 jewelry programs in the state of Texas, what I understood. Mm-hmm. So, is that enough colleges to have a Wecm workshop? To me, I think those 2 colleges get together and work it out.
That is a model.
Yeah.
You're right. We do that.
So that's the reason I asked that question, how many colleges are needed, or are affected in order to initiate a trigger. So out of those, back to the question, what triggers a Wiccan workshop? So out of those 7, the first 2, the 1 and 3 is what I categorized out of those 7. So out of those 7, either emergency industries were needed in Wickham inventory, some kind of new innovative program is needed, or number 3, modernizing, I use that term, modernizing technology, and I'll just simply slang it as course descriptions and outcomes no longer current with industry, needed to be updated. Now, out of those 7, it's my perspective that those 2 criteria were used to identify workshop trigger. Now, there were some accreditation requirements. One was, I think, Surge Tech, and one was criminal justice, but neither one of those were used to initiate a Wickham workshop based on committee. I know that law enforcement, one of them was law enforcement, that's academy, and it's not, the workshop is not needed based on the new criteria with a TICO. So, but that's just me. I knew that, and that's just me. So there's got to be some thought. So maybe the automation process doesn't work because it's got to have some thought to go along with some of these. So anyway, so I left that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blank because I'm not sure at this point in time what else would trigger a Wiccan workshop. I know there's some good ideas probably floating around in this room at this point in time that could fill in those blanks, but yep.
Protocol 0301 lists 10 triggers of Wecm workshops. We've already established the triggers of Wecm workshops. So in Protocol 0301, which we voted on and in May to finalize, there are 10 triggers of it. It's a matter of how we handle the triggers once they've been triggered.
Okay, all right, good enough. Well, then that's why all that's blank then, right? Okay, so one thing that Mindy stated in the July meeting was that that Wickham comments were open to everyone, and Mindy stated that she was in favor of institutions signing off and approving. And I guess the reason that I'll say that is because a lot of the comments that we received, well, let me back up. I don't want to say it that way. Let me back up and just say what I wrote here. I do agree with Mindy regarding having institutions sign off on comments in order to ensure institutions provide clear, concise, and thorough information. I think that's important as reading through and trying to understand and comprehend what was written. I do think it needs to be clear and concise. Some of them were very good, some of them weren't as good. And so my thought was that as dean, yes, I would, if something was coming from South Plains College, I would be sure that it was clear and concise and thorough. I didn't receive this, to my knowledge, so I know that there's a lot of folks out there also that aren't receiving this. So coming into the colleges, I think it needs to be, more generic or more widespread coming into the colleges, just my perspective. But coming back from the colleges, I think it needs to be narrow so that information is clear, concise, and thorough.
And I'm just going to say you're the second person who should have received Rex's memo who has said they did not. I don't know exactly who this went to. I know we have a broad, all subscribers come, CTE, email list in GovDelivery. I know it went there, but I don't know how it went out otherwise. I can tell you that we are going to look at that, and we are going to make sure we get this communication more broadly distributed and more directly attuned to the people it should go to. So let us work with you on that. See, it's not good that the right people didn't get this. That was not our intention.
That's also probably a failure of the colleges themselves to give it to the right people. So, I mean, I think you're doing the right thing, Mindy, and I think that's a good thing, but that also has to be on the responsibility of the colleges to get it to their right people as well, I think.
Do your liaisons, are you satisfied that your liaisons distribute information to members of your college community as they get it? That would vary, probably.
It varies, yes.
Let me rephrase that for just a moment. To my knowledge, I didn't receive it. I don't think that I received it. I'm sure South Plains College did, but you know how many, and on behalf of the vice president and you know how many emails they get. And so it's easy to look over. They're very busy people. It's hard to take time, send all that out. But I think maybe a better, more of a shotgun approach, that might help with that.
I think broadly inclusive is the goal. We just want to make sure that we don't miss entire groups of people in that broad inclusion. And Dwayne, I wonder why we wouldn't copy the Wecm committee on any mail out. That would probably be a good thing to do to make sure this committee does see those mail outs when they go. And we've talked about doing a follow-up mail out to Rex's recent memo, just reiterating and establishing that in the future, we will send out calls for comments about a month before every Wecm quarterly meeting. And we will make certain that this committee gets that follow-up mailing to the field.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mary.
No, it's Cindy.
Oh, it's Cindy. Oh.
Mindy, might I make a suggestion that the CAO meeting that's coming up here at the coordinating board at the end of October, that be on the agenda to speak with as a reminder to the CAOs that when they receive that they are sure to share it with their faculty.
Agree.
Thank you, Cindy. So noted.
I agree. Thank you, Cindy. Rob, are you finished? You got some more?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about where these triggers
are. Oh, okay. You did
Below 301.
You did a great job, Rob. Very thorough. Very thorough. I know that, Robin, you have some answers probably to some of these things about the smaller workshops that are triggered that, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Rob, for compiling this. I think it's very good, and I think we should probably take some action and make some recommendations based on your data and the information that you provided. For instance, the horology, the jewelry making. We have a protocol 2 that says a Model 2 process, protocol, involves colleges that offer similar courses to convene instructional specialists for cooperative collaboration, networking, and production of new Wecm courses. And really, that we probably should add that because it does say, these courses may be submitted to the Wecm Advisory Committee for review and recommendations of appropriate subcommittee. But also modification, because just because one college submitted a lot of local needs, that doesn't necessarily mean that an existing course couldn't be tweaked with the colleges that are offering that agreement. They come together, they agree on this, and they submit the results to us for approval to be put in the Wecm. So I think notification of the 2 schools, Paris and Austin, that they could hold a workshop under Model 2 themselves is appropriate. And I guess this committee would tell them to do that. However, a larger type program like marketing, I wouldn't advocate for a Model 2 to be handled locally by a couple of colleges when you have a large field like marketing. That is something that should be organized by the coordinating board to do a call out for instructional specialists. And just this week, Mindy, Dwayne, and I met about a possible process for that. And it looks very similar to how the coordinating board handles doing a call out for instructional specialists for both the ACGM and the programs of study. what we discussed this week, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mindy and Dwayne, but that's kind of what we talked about, right? Where if we have a field such as marketing or IT, the Cisco, that we need to do a call out for instructional specialists, not have colleges try to do that, because you're going to have other colleges that weren't involved very upset with us as a Wecm Advisory Committee if we don't involve a process the way it's standardized across the state. I think that brings to light, I personally don't know how many colleges do sports management. So that we're going to have to rely on information from the coordinating board to determine whether or not it needs to be a Model 1 where we do a call out, or if there are just a couple of schools that do sports management programs, if we can reach out to them and say, hey, I know there was some comments submitted that there needs to be some updates to the courses in the Wecm. Do you want to lead this, and then make the recommendations to us? But they have to be clear that they have to involve the 3 or 4 or whatever college is involved, 2, 3, 4, in that, so that we don't do harm to the existing institutions. As far as Cisco goes and the ITCC, I think that's one, personally, I think, because we know it's coming down. We know that as of October, from what I heard, Cisco will have the new curriculum out, and from what I heard yesterday, most colleges will try to implement this new curriculum in the spring. Well, that means we've got to get on the ball, guys, and do a quick call out for instructional specialists, so that the minute that curriculum is released, they can get together, review the current courses, and we can make it available, so that we don't have what happened the last time with Cisco, where we waited and had every institution, we told every institution, just go ahead and submit a local need, and it'll be the trigger that way. Why? That's so much work, because if you think about it, that changes catalogs 3 times. They have a catalog with the local need number, then they have a catalog with the new Wecm number, and of course they have their old catalog with the old number in it. So this is, to me, this is a trigger. It came through Wecm comments. I haven't seen it, but I know it came through, that we need to act on immediately and get the ball rolling. That's my 2 cents in this process, based on the models that we currently have in the protocol and how to handle these situations. Is that what you wanted me to address, Joyce?
Well, if I didn't, you did it anyway. No, it's
I'm
fine.
passionate.
No, yeah, your passion came through, and rightfully so, because again, we're talking about processes, and I think the coordinating board staff and their team, and also this committee, understood when we were transitioning from an external college, from the coordinating board handling the Wecm process to the coordinating board handling the Wecm process, that it was going to be a transition. It wasn't going to just be about meetings, and that we had some action that we had to do and deliver on it. And well, now the field is calling us on that. They're calling us to be able to do, to react, to be able to do that. We haven't had workshops. The closest things to workshops that we have had have been the cloud computing ones. And so it is time for us to, as we say, we're representing the field, we're representing a process. They expect us to be able to respond to the triggers that we have, and we need to be responsive to that. So I'm not going to put the coordinating board staff on the spot right now, but I will say that maybe that is something that we could look at, especially for Cisco that's coming up, something very similar to what we did with the cloud computing. And I don't want to put Sherry and Dwayne on notice or blast here, because they reacted very quickly and swiftly, which shows that the coordinating board can do that, because they do have dedicated staff and committed staff that have the ability to do that. But there are a lot of other things on their agenda They've lost a key leader in their organization. They're trying to reorganize that. They have a new commissioner coming on in the next week. And so there's a lot of other things that are happening with their agency as well. So if we are, as the Wecm Advisory Committee, are asking them to move swiftly on this, we also, as leaders around this table, have to also step up to the plate and volunteer our services as well, because of all the things that they will need to, as a team, to be adjusting to. So, if you all would get back with us to let us know if this is something that, another rabbit you can pull out of the hat to address the needs that we know that are coming, because Cisco does have an impact on lots of programs and several colleges around the state. It is not something that is small, that is, just among 10 colleges, but it's a huge impact. And so I hear my colleagues around the table silently shaking their heads that they will be willing to step up to the plate and also help with this, help you put on this workshop.
And I'm going to respond by stating first, I see the urgency of the Cisco situation. I'm going to ask Dwayne, if we set out a call for nominations, would it be possible to convene a workshop, say, in November? How would that timeline be?
I think we'll have to look at the schedule and see how many responses we get, but theoretically, it could be done
Okay.
by November.
Okay. We will initiate a call for workshop participants. We will work with the committee to, see how many we get. We will see what we can schedule, and hopefully we can do this during the fall. It will be dependent upon field response, but I suspect it will be good.
Okay.
Mindy, are you referencing Cisco?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, the Cisco situation, yes.
All right, Rob, I'm checking little things off your list as we try to, as you said, as things are submitted, we just don't get them and they sit there. What's been actually done based on the Wecm comments that are coming in? What's been done with the comments? So, thank you. So, I think Dwayne also, for lack of a better term, let a lot of you off the hook with your reports today by stepping up and saying he actually hadn't given you the information, so you can't have reports. Cynthia, do you have anything?
Can I just say very quickly, that's just typical Dwayne. He's good help, isn't he?
I do not, Madam Chair, but I do appreciate Dwayne for allowing us to defer to him.
Olga, do you have anything? Okay. Okay, well, with that, as Dwayne has stated that he will provide you all this huge list of information for your committees to actually go through, and there is a special topics list and a local needs list for both CE and the credit CTE courses that are there. Okay. All right, staying in tune with the agenda, it is now 11:24. We are going to do I think we have enough time for, we have almost done number 7, but so I know that Robin may have a few more things to add. So, number 7, report from Wecm Protocol Subcommittee on course review workshop schedule.
But I'm going to try to tone down my passion. We approved our protocols, first of all, at our last meeting, so there was no updates or changes to the protocol. I've already mentioned that based on a workshop schedule that I did meet with Mindy and Dwayne, and the results of that meeting were great. I mean, they understood that there was going to be a need to have workshops. And Mindy, you were going to do a little bit of research on a topic that I don't know if I should even bring up, but if there's any funding or not. And I don't know if you were able to do that in a day, but if you haven't, that's fine. I understand completely.
Let me respond to that, Robin. I did check into that.
Oh, good.
The agency supports attendance to the learning outcomes workshops that go with the ACGM process. It will, in like manner, support the cost of participating in the Wecm workshops. These will come out of Perkins admin funds.
Good.
Okay.
So in what would it be, the instructional specialists, or what way would it be supporting it?
We haven't worked out those details. This is new ground.
Okay, great.
But it should work equivalently with the learning outcomes work groups.
Thank you.
ACGM. Did you have a question or concern?
Rob, you got a question? You got a question, Rob? Do you have a question? Okay, all right.
You looked like you were about to
Yeah,
speak. I
he
wanted to
did.
give you the
He did.
opportunity.
Thank you very much for finding that out, Mindy. I appreciate it. Appreciate that. I have so many pieces of paper out here. The other thing we looked at, we were talking about the triggers, and bottom line, all of the triggers that were listed can be brought to light through Wecm comments or through what we talked about, conversations, just like you had with the cloud computing professionals, Madam Chair. So, and then you brought that forward to the coordinating board and moved forward that way. So every single one of the 10 that are on that list, even if someone has the need, a Wecm comment would be appropriate. I think, as Rob mentioned, however, we need to formalize the process of Wecm comments in order to be able to act on those statements. Additionally, when I was looking at the Wecm comments that came through, and then today when we got the list of the local need and special topics, they also intertwine and relate directly. So when you have a subcommittee looking at the special topic and local need, and you have a subcommittee looking at the comments, those two are going to have to come together as well, because more than likely, if an institution submitted a special topic or local need, they most likely submitted a Wecm comment also. So they're going to be overlapping, and it'll just help reinforce the need for that sort of a workshop. I'd like to see this committee take a look at the ones that came from the comments and decide for moving forward whether or not we want to have a call for instructional specialists for some of the wider areas if possible, and then and decide if we're going to approach Austin and Paris about doing the jewelry one.
Is that a recommendation?
That's a recommendation, yes.
We have a recommendation from the subcommittee that we authorize the coordinating board to approach Austin Community College and Paris Community College to do a Model 2 workshop, and that means and read the definition of a Model 2 for everyone, please.
The process involved colleges that offer similar courses to convene instructional specialists for cooperative collaboration, networking, and production of new Wecm courses. These courses may be submitted to the Wecm Advisory Committee for review and recommendation of appropriate subcommittee.
That they are authorized, the coordinating board authorizes them to do a Model 2 workshop based on information that was submitted. Some of this, part of the submission, we know that will be corrected through the SIP outdated, one of the concerns with the outdated SIP, they'll be corrected through the 2020. However, their proposal for rubrics and course changes and content changes can then be done through a Model 2. So with that, it has been recommended that we take that. May I have I'm asking you for a motion to approve the recommendation. So can I have a motion to approve the recommendation from the subcommittee that we authorize the coordinating board to have Model 2 workshop move forward for horology.
Joyce, what about the other thing about the Cisco? Is that going to be in this motion?
That's a separate,
Oh, that's a
separate
one.
motion.
Okay.
We're taking kind of each one of these, as Rob has clearly stated, that we have not done, what have we done with the recommendations that have come through? So I'm trying to check them off as we are going through. So, hearing recommendation 1 about the Model 2 workshop.
I'd like to make that recommendation.
It has been moved. Can I have a second of the motion? Okay. All right. So it has been, the recommendation has been, we've received a motion to approve the recommendation and with a second as well. So I'm going to ask for all of those who are in favor to approve the recommendation as stated by the subcommittee. May I hear a vote of aye?
Aye.
Okay, those who are opposed with the same? Okay, with that, this committee has approved the subcommittee's recommendation that we authorized the coordinating board to have a Model 2 between the two colleges. That can be virtual, you don't have to bring them together, and that then they will submit their recommendations and comments then to you, Dwayne, to bring back to us if there are any changes or updates to the courses in the Wecm. We had previously already, as part of a discussion, but not as a formal motion, in which the coordinating board is going to look at conducting a Cisco workshop in November. Yeah, that's what we just talked about. Okay. And that the coordinating board will look at conducting a Cisco workshop in November based on the number of instructional specialists that would be interested in participating, and as well as this advisory committee volunteering to participate as far as facilitating or any other things of being able to get the word out or whatever we need to do to help within that process. And that would be a Model 1 workshop?
Yes, it
Would you read the definition of a Model 1, please?
Model 1 process is defined by a vast number of inventory discipline-related courses offered by many community and technical colleges. To assure consideration of all courses, a 1 to 2 day course review workshop is held. At the workshop, teams of instructional specialists are led by workforce education administrators who serve as mentors and facilitators. This model requires a broad representation of instructional specialists as nominated by instructional administrators. Assigned to teams of 5 to 12 specialists, the team members must rank high on teaching skills and knowledge of subject areas, be involved in program development and course design, example, a state-authorized program of study, remain current in the discipline, and work cooperatively with colleagues. Additionally, specialists are selected in consideration of obtaining equal representation from small, medium, and large colleges and from diverse regions of the state. Gender and ethnicity are important in the selection process. This type of workshop would normally be triggered by a substantive number of Wecm comments, special topic or local need course submissions for a particular field, or response to a request from the coordinating board for necessary updates.
Okay.
That's what that is.
All right. So I'd like to get a motion to approve the recommendation based on, of course, the specifics as mentioned prior to, that we accept the recommendation from the subcommittee to have a Cisco triggered workshop in November, again, based on the specifics as mentioned before.
I make a motion, as stated, for the Cisco workshop to maybe take place in November.
Joyce, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we accept the recommendation as stated by the subcommittee. So with that, I'm going to ask a vote of aye for those who approve the recommendation. Aye. Okay. For same vote of no if for those who oppose. I mean, aye for those who oppose. Mary, are you still there with us?
Yes, aye.
Okay. Okay, then motion passes. And before we move this, I'd also be able to ask for approval of a formal approval of another action that was previously offered by the TACTI board members, that we consider, if at all possible, looking at, after we look at the workshop, after we look at special topics and local needs and/or other things that were on Rob's list, like the marketing program or the game or anything that's not covered by the conversion of the zip code, any other triggers that the coordinating board staff has, that we look at having a workshop in April at the TACTI conference. And I know at one point in time, we usually like to have the same zip codes that are reviewed, but in this case, if we have many different zip codes that are being reviewed, then we still have an opportunity to be able to have a larger workshop where there may be marketing issues over here, there may be IT issues over here, there may be so different spaces, but we have to be able to let them know, because those spaces will require them to be able to ask the hotel for different things, or speaking to the coordinating board about prices and funding. So with that, I'd like for us to approve that we will look at the opportunity we'll look at the opportunity to have a workshop in April at the TACTI conference, if need be, based on triggers that we currently have. So then we will be able to at least tell the field that we have some scheduled workshops. And so we need to know we can be able to tell them what's coming up, and we'll be able to solicit some invitations, list some applications from the field for the specialists. So with that, I'm asking for a motion to approve again a recommendation to accept the invitation of the TACTI board to allow us to hold a workshop at their conference.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we accept the recommendation and of that we approve the acceptance of the TACTI board to allow us to have a Wecm workshop at their conference. So I'd like to have a vote on that recommendation, please. All those who are in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Mary. Any opposed, same said. All right, with that motion. Yes.
Madam Chair, for the record, just can we also make a note, we will need to know in advance that we can balance rooms and all those other things.
Yeah, that's what I said. I wanted to make sure that they need to know, we need to give them further enough notice of what those workshops will be and how many of those workshops will be, so that you can balance rooms and you will be knowing that based on the incomes of the thing. Okay, so with that said, then recommendation is approved. And so we will put that back in the hands of the coordinating board to help us determine what workshops will be needed in April. We know we're looking at November for the Cisco, and we have approved a Model 2 for horology at between Austin and Paris. So it seems at this point in time, there's not a lot of costs to be incurred at this point, but we will see. Okay? All right. See, so Rob, all you have to do is bring it to us and we get the list checked off. All right. Okay, and good work, all of you subcommittees. And I'd like to mention one thing. At one point, historically, we used to, this committee would receive all comments from all Wecm comments. At one point, Rob, this whole committee would receive the Wecm comments when they were submitted. everybody on this committee receive those. Dwayne has told me that we have not received those in a long time. And so when you said that a new process of being able to have those go out to a subcommittee, what I'd like to ask Dwayne is to ensure that he restarts sending us, this committee, the welcome comments.
Okay.
And I think that will solve that issue of them going to a subcommittee, because they used to go to all of us, everyone on this committee, so that we will be aware of what's coming. So can you do that?
Okay.
Okay.
One thought is the categories. So the categories, I just kind of made those up, you know? That was in that
No,
spreadsheet.
they're aligned.
So you think they're aligned well enough?
They're aligned with,
Okay.
you got 3 of the 10 that we already approved.
Okay.
Okay, so then Dwayne will start back making sure that this whole committee receives the welcome comments. That will help us, and that will help us decide on what workshops will be done in April, and we can decide quickly enough. We can then help the coordinating board do their work.
And I have a comment that I'm going to proceed with Mindy's comment before, like maybe also the Wecm members to receive notification when you are sending information to the liaison from the community college, because sometimes they don't provide to us the information, and then we can spread to our proper departments, curriculum office, deans, whatever they need to be informed.
I think we can assure you that we'll do that. We can make that just a standard email protocol, that if we send out something to the field regarding Wecm, we will CC the Wecm committee.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. That would be great.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
One quick thing. In addition to the Wecm comments helping with the triggers for the April TACTI workshops, if the subcommittees get through the special topic and local need, that will also help us decide what workshops need to be
Yeah, yeah, I did mention that earlier, but I didn't emphasize it enough for your passion. So, yeah, you are correct. If they do go through this and look at this list, then it'll be good. Okay. So, with that, it's 11:42, 11:43. Lunch is not here yet, so we will go ahead and continue. Okay, I'm sorry, we'll go ahead and continue. So we're at number 8. Okay, we don't have any other subcommittees, we've kind of done that, checked that off the list. Oh my goodness. We're future agenda items and resources required for next meeting. You guys, we've gotten through a whole lot. Even with Robin's passion and I think it's because Dwayne took a lot of you all off the hook with this, that the reason we've gotten through this agenda item so quickly. So, if there are other things before we move to being able to look at that.
And I just want to remind you, last meeting, we kind of went around the table and everybody suggested future agenda items. So those are included on the last page of the minutes. If there's anything, if you notice anything, maybe we didn't have a report about today that you might like for next meeting.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Legislative processes, licensure and certifications. So do you have anything, any updates on legislative matters? Dwayne, Mindy, Sherry's gone. Any update?
There was a question, actually rather heated discussion last meeting about the TDLR regulations. And I was tasked with looking up any additional programs that might be affected. I have that list on my computer somewhere. I'll have to look for it. So might want to defer that for a few minutes.
Okay, we can defer that for a few minutes till you get to your computer. Is that what you're
Okay,
saying?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Mindy?
I have no updates.
Okay. Any updates on Perkins?
I certainly do.
All right.
The Perkins stakeholder meetings are proceeding. Some of you have hosted, some of you have attended. These have been a great success. Our event organizer, Sherry, has worked with 8 institutions to put these together, and we have just finished the 5th of 8.
Wow.
So this is ongoing, but it is a good source of consultation. We had a really good regional stakeholder meeting at Clarendon. We had quite a significant turnout for students at both Clarendon and at Tarrant. So I will, and at Angelina, where even before semester started, they got a good group of students out. We have convened with TEA and with other parties on how we will proceed on drafting of the state plan. It will go before TEA, which will be the submitter. It'll go before TEA's board in November as an outline, the state plan draft. It will be in full draft form before the TEA board in January. It will be reviewed and approved in April, and will also be submitted during the month of April to Department of Education. So that's our stage right now. We have ongoing the work of development of 4 model comprehensive local needs assessments, and are in the works with plans to, as we've said many times, develop resources for institutions for their work on their local CLNAs. That much of that, I think, will be going to the TACD Perkins page, where we can get it out quickly to the field. So much is happening. Stand by, be on notice. I believe and let me just say this, I believe the January version, the draft version of the state plan, is the one that will be posted for public comment. Now, don't hold me to that. I heard this and took notes at a meeting last week and haven't reviewed my notes. So you'll be wanting to watch for state plan publicly posted for public comment on the TEA website. And we'll try to get you update on that posting date when we can confirm it.
So Mindy, where are your next 3 stakeholder meetings going to be held?
Midland College, San Jacinto College, and Tyler Junior College.
All right. Anyone else have questions of Mindy on Perkins, related to Perkins? Okay. Any other updates that anyone else knows around the table about licensure and certification changes other than Cisco? The Barbara?
The Barbara with the one.
Yeah.
TDL.
Oh, yeah, TDL, okay. Rob?
Yeah, I'm curious if there's any TDLR status on cosmetology. You know, we all know that's coming, and that was a big
I think he's
item
gonna
that was
pull,
discussed. but-
he's gonna pull those up for us.
Is it good?
Yeah. Anyone else know any other changes on licensure and certification that we may not be aware of, that your faculty and/or industry partners have mentioned? Okay. Okay, so with that, do we have a time scheduled for the next meeting? A date? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's just in the minutes. Okay, future meetings scheduled September 27th, January 30th, April 30th, and July 30th. One of the things we probably should think about, and you all definitely can follow up with me later, but we should think about is how we're going to determine which workshops we want to be held in April. And TACTI, I'm gonna ask you, TACTI board members, if you all would give us a deadline. This committee works very well with deadlines. So if you all would give us a deadline when you need to know whether that is going to be a definite, whether we are definitely going to have a workshop, if you would give us a deadline that you need to know that. So, because we work better with deadlines. Okay. All right, well, looks like, Dwayne, how close are you? He's still looking? Okay, he's still.
As Dwayne looks, let me let you know that lunch is here. We might want to break for lunch and give Dwayne time to.
That's what I was gonna say. We're gonna break for lunch, since Dwayne hasn't yet found it. We'll break for lunch, then we'll reconvene for the report out from Dwayne. So at this point in time, those of you who are looking, there will be no broadcasting during lunch. So we're gonna break for lunch for about 30 minutes. That should get it? Yes. So we're gonna break for lunch for about 30 minutes. It's now 11:52. Okay? It is now 12:30, and we are now back from lunch, a little bit late. We apologize for those who've joined us back on the line. Mary, are you still there? Okay.
Sam, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate you. Okay. We were going to get an update from Dwayne, but while we're waiting on an update from Dwayne, I've been asked to have a clarification based on the last minutes that we had. If you would look at your minutes on page 3, so that we can clarify who's on the subcommittees, the membership on the subcommittees. We do know, if you look at the bottom paragraph, we do know that Vernon Hawkins' subcommittee consists of the TASTE representatives and the regional representatives of TASTE that will be reviewing the non-credit special topic and local need courses. Then we had the course review subcommittee for professional development courses. Oh, that was part of that. Then we got Cindy Griffith has agreed to chair the course revision and archival subcommittee. Who's on that with Cindy Griffith? Cynthia Griffith.
I volunteered to be on it with her.
Okay. We got, all right. And,
I'll help Olga's, Olga's committee.
okay, so we got Olga on the credit special topics and local, so we got James who's gonna be on Olga's committee, and we got Cindy that's gonna be on Cynthia's committee. Anyone else want to be a part of these subcommittees?
Joyce, I'd like to help with the archive.
Okay, and Jennifer is gonna be on your committee as well.
So for clarification, I know TACTI voted me in as their Wecm representative. Does that make me ex officio, or does that make me a committee member? Because I would like to help, but I don't know if I'm supposed to if I'm ex officio.
Oh, okay, yeah, if you on this committee, you got taken up a chair, you can help.
Okay, so tell me where you want me.
I'm going to say that ex officio's role is one of participation. You are also representing an external entity, which, brings the, denotation of ex officio. But I'm going to tell you, I don't think we could have gotten through cloud computing yesterday without the IT POS committee's ex officio member, Robin Garrett. You just participate away, my dear.
Joyce, fill me in
Madam
wherever
Chair.
you need. Have a gap.
Okay, you want her? Okay, Leslie will be on, yeah.
Just take the credit.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I think we have it.
Madam Chair?
Yes, yes, Mary.
I'd also like to participate in the Special Topics and Local Needs Committee, please.
Okay, so that's Olga. Olga, you have Mary, you have Leslie, you have James. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Cynthia, you have Cindy, and you have Jennifer. And Rob, you are through with yours because you did yours for the summer. Unless you still want to just hang in there.
And that was a question. I didn't know if the comments were going to come out again.
Oh, I
would
think you
continue
are,
that.
yes, right, you are the welcome comments person. No, you still have your subcommittee, you and Robin. You and Robin working on the welcomes comment. So we got it. I think we all got it now. We got 3 subcommittees that are involved in reviewing field course stuff. Yeah. No, he's not. No, Robin, he's not. He's not. It's you and Rob.
Somebody else, you.
I'm on there. I'm on there. I'm on there. Okay. So I think we got all of our committees set. Okay, Dwayne, thank you for the list, but now you can kind of update us because Mary's on the line. And so I'm sure Dwayne will email you this information.
Right, and again, this is information I got from the TDLR website. First, it's just a list of the programs. I was, asked to check what other programs might be affected by any kind of legislation. And looking over this list, I didn't really see any that we have associate degree level programs in, again, except cosmetology.
You have air conditioning. Air conditioning and heating, HVAC.
Okay. And so I guess the next step is to see what effect that legislation has on those programs.
Oh, yeah, you got it, static right there.
Electrician too.
Yeah, electrician as well.
Speech pathology, probably somewhere.
So, yeah, so if you would, Dwayne, and let us know, can we get a deadline by which you may have this information to us?
I'll email you an update within the week.
Oh, okay, well then, okay. All right.
Just so I'm clear, because I was reading and not listening, you want an update on changes for the specific programs affected?
Yeah, we wanted to know the impact of that the legislation would have on programs. Would it mean us having to change courses, change hours, change requirements? What is the impact on our programs and/or courses within those programs?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And the next, also from their website, was a list of legislative changes made by the 86th Texas legislature.
Okay.
And again, I haven't looked at those fully, but I'll kind of double check to make sure whether or not they affect any of the programs.
Okay. Any questions from anyone on the committee? Anne Mary?
No, thank you.
Anyone? Anything? Bob, anything that you see? I know you were really concerned about it. Nothing? Okay, with that said, we'll just get updates from committee members. We'll start with you. Jennifer, any updates?
No, ma'am.
Hey, Rob? Rob, any updates?
No, but I'd like to say that, I'm not concerned. I think everything's going fine. I understand quality takes time, so I'm good with everything, where everything's going.
Okay. Philip?
None.
Lester?
Oh, ma'am?
Already addressed.
Okay. Oh.
No.
Dwayne?
Nothing so far.
I've expressed that.
Cynthia? Vernon?
No, not at this time.
Mindy?
No update. I want to thank the committee for bearing with us during this time. We have a time of loss, we have a time of transition. We look forward to continued and increasing cooperation with and support of this committee.
Okay. Well, with that said, then we are joined at, what is it? Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, it's been moved.
I'll second.
Second. That we adjourn the meeting at 12:39. Thank you all so much. Safe travels.
Oh, so fast. This one take us a lot.
Yeah,
Right?
it's okay. Let it ride. If Dwayne had his stuff ready, we would have been out here at 11:30.
No, you guys, you're really fast.
I know.
You're really fast.